10 seconds to consider. What is my reputation as a speaker on camera? Ready? Your time starts now. Go. We're skipping this because somebody convinced me to do something else instead. Faces build trust. And as we all know, in business, what is one of the foundational things that we need as leaders? Anyone? Ding, ding, ding.
Role models.
And role models who can build that trust. So we've evolved as human beings to recognize human faces. Mustafa Kankaya is a photographer at the Istanbul airport, and he has dedicated this project to taking 100 faces from 100 countries, and it's fascinating. Because we're hardwired to recognize people's faces. Cooperation is our survival. And 50% of our body language happens to be in our face. On video, all the producers know, and I used to be a multimedia producer, that faces close up draw us in. What does this mean for you? Faces and baby animals draw us in. And there is a woman here with a dog, and we're all going nuts. Because her dog is so cute and runs around and makes an emotional connection with all of us just by standing there in her fluffiness. You are the baby panda in any exchange. And I don't mean just with little kids. I mean in the boardroom. You are responsible for making that emotional connection in business today. So when people feel something, they are more likely to take action, which means they're more likely to enact your directive if you're a leader, or they're more likely, if they're a colleague, to help you out. So let's talk about going on camera. You gotta have your face evenly and well lit from the front, and natural light is the most flattering. So if you can, set up in front of a window with the natural sunlight coming in. Or you can use a ring light, which is really great for a lot of you. Or if you don't want to spend the money, find a desk lamp with a dimmer and make sure that we can see your face. Raise your camera. If you shoot from down here, can you hand that to me for a second? Thank you so much. Chelsea agreed to volunteer right now. Let's give Chelsea a round of applause. Helping out is caring. You don't want to shoot from down here. The most flattering angle is above the eye level, pointed down. Any director of photography in Hollywood will tell you that. And as actresses, we all know that when we take selfies, we raise and we tilt. So everybody please stand up. I want you to pretend you're taking a selfie. I want you to raise and then tilt, okay? And then, if ever you are taking a picture where they're gonna see your full body, you can put your arm down. I want you to twist with the knee out, and I want you to pop the chest. Once again, we're going to twist and pop. What does that do? It makes us, what did you say? Who knows the secrets already? And it makes you slimmer. And what does the popping of the chest do? Posture, confidence. You're not slouched. You don't look like you're hiding. So even if you're nervous or scared, if you twist and pop, no one will know. You can have a seat. Round of applause. Now, if you are using an external webcam with a tripod like this, or if you're shooting with a smartphone, I suggest just investing in a tripod that goes up to at least 6 feet, that's up to 6 feet tall, so that you can go around to any conference and just put it down. I brought a short one today because I didn't want to lug the big one, but just buy an Amazon, 5-foot tripod, and then buy a smartphone holder that twists onto the tripod, so that anywhere you go, you just put this down, you hit record, and you can do little videos at a conference, you can go live, you can do a little impromptu podcast. And it really is very helpful. You can, at home, raise the camera if it's embedded in your laptop by just putting books underneath the laptop, or you can use a riser. And I always suggest that you clean the lens with the same cloth that comes with your eyeglasses, because you don't want a cloudy lens, especially if you're using your smartphone. And you must fill the frame. Close the gap between the top of your head and the top of the frame. You don't want to look like a little kid at Thanksgiving. You need to have executive presence. So you want to close the gap between the top of the head and the top of the frame and fill that frame. Show some of your neck and part of your chest now that you've raised the camera. And the reason that's good is if you use your hands a lot, or if you just don't want to look like a head, a dismembered head on Zoom. It's really great to have that angle. Now, eyes to the lens is really important. Have you ever been on a video conference where the person is not looking into the lens and they look like this the whole time? Has that ever happened to anyone?
Yeah.
Okay, so what instead you want to do is, when you're talking on a video conference, you've got to look into the lens. When you need to gather information and body language from the other people in the video conference, then you look down at them to gather their body language. But when it's your turn to speak, or if you have an important point to make, look into that lens. Because then they feel an emotional connection to you, and you don't need to stare at it the entire time. Because people are getting Zoom fatigue from so many eyes. So you want to simulate a natural conversation. If you look away and people don't see you staring at them the entire time, they will be less Zoom fatigued. But if you never look into the lens, then they'll feel disconnected and isolated, which is another side effect of what's happening today with Zoom fatigue. So there is a balance to be had to limit the tiring, exhausting effects of Zoom fatigue. So everyone, look in the lens when it's your turn to talk, take in the others when you listen. Recording solo? That's hard because you have to really emotionally connect. So you have to think about the needs and the emotions of the other person and imagine they're right inside that lens. And if you can't really do that easily, then just put a photo right over the lens of your favorite client, your favorite stakeholder, whoever it is that you're talking to in that video. Make sure you cut a hole big enough that the lens is not blocked. And recreate an enjoyable conversation. Don't recreate the conversation with some colleague you can't stand. Recreate that warm, in-person conversation where you were really enjoying yourself and really listening to the other person. And that's how you create an emotional connection. So we're going to skip the smartphone because we have other fun things to do. But if you want to take a snapshot of this slide, it's easy to simply practice at home with some of these tips. And whenever you want to get some feedback for yourself, watch your video back, watch that replay, and ask yourself, what's one thing I liked about this video? And what's one way I can improve for next time? So, you might look at your video and you have a look like that. Has anybody ever seen this RBF or heard of RBF. Now, is it fair that women are accused of RBF? Not really. Is the world fair? Is corporate America fair? Not really. So instead of looking like Kanye West, what we're going to do is we're going to check to see if ever we're listening to somebody and we're focused, but we have a slight frown because we're so focused on what they're saying and we care, right? But we look like this. You don't want that to happen. So if you see any of that, just practice a neutral resting face. And if you think you suffer from RBF, there is an app. You can upload your image at testrbf.com, and I'm not kidding. That is not a joke. And I called the guy and said, can I talk about the test RBF? And he said, yeah, go for it. Isn't that high layer? Reset your energy. My God, this is so important. I was working with a Silicon Valley startup, and the CEO's videos were like this, so come and get my great technology. Do you think he's gonna get anybody on board with that energy? So whenever you feel angry, frustrated, upset, but then you have to go on a conference call and inspire your team or make that video for a customer, you want to reset your energy. Because the close-up framing shows what's happening. And before you speak on camera, you want to release the tension and set your intention. So we're going to do some call and response. And I want you to do this gesture with me. So repeat after me, please. Release the tension.
Release the tension.
And set my intention.
And set my intention.
Release the tension.
Release the tension.
Set my intention.
Set my intention.
Release the tension.
Release the tension.
Set my intention. Ole. You did it. I do that, used to do kids music with little kids, and interactive is caring. But smiling is important when you're listening. And the reason is, studies show that a slight smile does inspire. Trust me, why is that? Does anybody know why? Friendly. Welcome. I believe in you. I like you. You belong here, right? All of those things are said with a smile. And people with joyful expressions, I don't know if it's true, I read it somewhere, and I have my resources if you want to take a look at it. That's controversial. What do you think? Show me with your hands. Raise your hand if you believe that people with joyful expressions are judged as smarter. I don't think anybody believes that here, but I did read it. Thank you. Thank you in the back there. I did read that. So I'm not sure if it's true, but it's certainly if you want that warm hug, which you were talking about, that you really want a culture where everyone feels that warm hug, then a slight smile will make that difference. And whenever you want to express inclusive warm energy, smile for a full minute before you go on camera for the biology of happiness. It simply simulates the same hormones that run through our body when we are joyful. Even if you're not joyful and you're like this, you still have some of those hormones coursing through you. And what is at an all-time low? You're all smarter than that. What is at an all-time low? Thank you. And what is the currency, one of the highest currencies in today's online world? Attention. This is what's happening in our world. The value of attention is going up and up and up. The ability to grab attention is going down, down, down. So Zoom fatigue is a thing, and the Stanford Virtual Human Interaction Lab, they did a study and found that the excessive eye contact and seeing ourselves close up for hours is causing problems. And in fact, did you know that plastic surgery is skyrocketing? And I'm not kidding. And if you hide the self view in Zoom by clicking the 3 dots in the corner of your screen and choosing to hide your self view, some people say, but then I don't know what I look like. I suggest you get used to hiding your self view if you are distracted by your own face. If you are having issues with, I don't think I look good, or ooh, I look like that, I would suggest hiding your self-view and trying to get through it after you set your framing with your view hidden. We're not moving around as much when we're sitting down, and it requires more mental energy to try to pick up people's body language on Zoom. So we're all exhausted. The fatigue is causing everybody to tune out. Half of you have probably tuned out already and checked your phones. No? Oh, thank you. I appreciate you. But it happens, right? And what happens when somebody gets up here and they absolutely have not a single pause in their language and they talk in one tone and don't pause, and then you have to do whatever. Everybody checks out. Because we've evolved to notice changes in our environment. That's how we've survived. We've scanned our environment for changes. So we pay attention when there is one, and that includes the sound of your voice. So bye-bye, boring speaker. I'm going to have you each pick a partner, but don't do it yet until I say go. You are each going to act out. And I want you to stand up and chase each other. And I'm not kidding, because you're going to learn something on the other side of it. Do you trust me? Does anybody here trust me? Somebody said no! Okay, well, for those of you who trust me, when I say go, you're going to find a partner. The person whose name is closest to the letter A will play Little Red Riding Hood, which is red, and the other person will play the wolf. You are going to act out these characters. You are going to pretend that you're telling this story to a 5-year-old, and you want them to laugh. Can I get you to do this for me?
Sure.
No?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, if you really don't want to do it, fine, but I'll be sad and I'll cry a little inside, but that's okay, because the rest of you are going to do it, and you trust me, right? Because I have a lesson on the other side. You will have 1 minute. Your time starts now, go. Can you put one time 1 minute? Oh wait, you have that time. Don't speak in monotone. 80%, I heard one statistic say, but you never know with these studies. But clearly the majority of speakers only speak with 1 or 2 notes. Imagine if you expanded your range to a few more. How much more interesting you would be. Whenever the amygdala in our brain says, I don't really want to listen to this, it's because they don't see the speaker having any passion. But if you add more notes to your voice, there is a perception that you care, even if you don't. Oh my God, I'm so glad that you all are laughing at my jokes. This table, you're rocking it, man. So add a few more tones. Practice this. It's a great technique. Another technique. Did anybody vary their speed when they were playing these characters? A little bit more than you normally would, right? And that's because you were acting it out with emotion. And when you have emotion, do you talk at the same speed the entire time if you have a lot of passion for something and you decided, I really do care a lot about this topic because No, you don't talk like that. You care. You care about something, and I know you all care, and I care about raising your reputation as speakers, right? That's my mandate today. So do you think I care about this content? I really care. Now you might say, but Michelle, you're asking us to put on an act. I'm not asking you to put on an act. I'm asking you to practice with a few more notes so that when the time comes and you get up, naturally you have a bit more range in your voice. Because when people see that you're passionate, you influence them. When you care, they care. When you care, their amygdala says, I think this is important. I'm going to not only store this in my memory, but I'm going to have emotional response. If you don't care and you get on that camera, the amygdala is going to say, not really worthy of remembering. And it won't even pass on your words from memory in your brain. I'm talking about the viewer, right? Did I say that clear? Okay, so let's move on. Pause between points. This is one of those things that so many speakers do not do. They roll, they barrel. I had this client, and she would just barrel in her pitch to Fortune 500s from one point to another. She would end one point, and then she would literally barrel right through to the next. But our brains, we need a second to a second and a half to process what has just been said. Why ruin that golden silence that allows that to occur with more talking? Do you think that's a good idea? So I really encourage you to eliminate any utterance that does not add value to your message, including what I really think is, no, don't say that, because if you're speaking, we already know that's what you're thinking because you're choosing to say it. It's a priority for you already. You've already deemed it valuable. So there's no need to preface what you're about to say with all the thoughts that came before. It clutters and muddies the message. Pause for emphasis. If I decided that I wanted you to hear one thing, then I would talk real fast and I would vary my speed, and then I would pause, because what I'm about to say after the pause is important. And adding gestures that support your content. Do you have to wildly gesticulate the entire time you're talking? No. But if you add one or two gestures, let's say every 3 sentences or so, even every 2, you already are making a greater impact. Did anyone have gestures when they played The Wolf and Little Red Riding Hood? A little, maybe? Okay, I saw only 2 people chasing, and was it you 2? Who's chased? Round of applause for our chasers. They took it to heart. So did you learn anything from that exercise about how some of these things come into play? Such a quiet group. I can hear a pin drop. Can somebody just say something? And of course, when we express emotion, we are expressing our passion. And passion equals influence. I'd like you to all repeat after me. Passion equals influence.
Passion equals influence.
So I'd like someone to tell me, what is your definition of influence? Yeah, what would you, no, I mean, what is? Does anyone have a good definition of influence? Okay, please, go for it.
Moving people or making people move.
You know what? In business, you are spot on. Moving them, whether it's emotionally or moving them to action. And in business, what inspires action? What inspires action anywhere? Yeah, definitely the way you influence. What did somebody else say?
Trust.
We're very close. Yes, passion, trust, and emotional response, like a feeling. People will justify buying bull crap from the internet because they saw the ad that made them cry. It's that emotional response that will cause us to move. And so when she said influence is moving people, she hit the nail on the head. And you do that when you create an emotional response with your baby panda face. Beyonce is expressing herself. So I would like everyone to rise, and we're going to do a call and response. okay? And you are going to repeat that word, but you are going to match your tone and one gesture to the meaning of the word or phrase that I say. So I'm going to say it real plain Jane, and you are going to say it with emotion and a gesture. Can you all do that? Everybody understand the instructions?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. This is going to be fun. I'll start. I really need you to think.
I really need you to think.
I. You. Okay, so a gesture every single time. And some of you did you this way, which is very effective, but also some cultures find this offensive. So we want to make sure that we have our hands up and open palms for you. Okay, so let's do you again. You. Slowly. Quickly. Oh, I didn't do it right. I'm supposed to say it. It's too hard for me. Large. Tiny. Revenues went down last quarter. Everyone's fired. I'm kidding. I'm going to help myself. Revenues went up last quarter. From top to bottom. Extraordinary women are changing the world.